Hello everyone, and welcome to the second video for our last week of our happiness unit. We are focusing on choices and happiness this week. Yesterday you guys should have read this first article here, The Keys to Happiness, partly genetic, but you control the rest. Today we're really going to focus on two things. All right, first we're going to go over the answers to the questions for this article you guys read yesterday and the common lit questions you answered, and we'll preview a little bit of the second article. But most of the time, we're going to spend looking ahead at our tasks for the rest of the week. So you've got your paired text task tomorrow, and then your writing task for Thursday and Friday if you need it. All right? Let's start up here with the article you guys read yesterday. So you've got this article here on how much of our happiness is genetic, how much we control. And there are a couple of assessment questions here. There are 3 multiple choice questions and I think 2 writing questions. I've got the answers pulled up right here on the screen. So let's just go through those here real quick. First question, which of the following identifies the main claim of the text? You can see here the best answer is C, and really just looking at the title kind of communicates this main idea if you're looking closely. So don't forget to look at the title. Sometimes people just move right beyond that, but the title can actually have some really helpful information, especially when you're reading an informational text. All right, number 2. Which detail from the text best supports the answer to part A? So we got to find which quote down here best supports this answer from question number 1. So which quote shows that genetics can determine some people's happiness, but individual choices also have a significant impact? You can see the best answer down here is D. 40% that we conclude, although not everybody would agree with this conclusion, is the percent that is affected by what you do. So the researchers in this article found that 40% of your happiness is up to your own personal choices. That would support this idea that some of it is determined by genetics, but a significant chunk is determined by your choices. Number 3, how does the detail about the study of twins, so we're looking about the detail about the study of twins, contribute to the text in paragraph 22? Let's go look at that together real quick. So paragraph 22, we've got 20, 21, 22. All right, here we go. The 50% genetics is based on other research of identical twins who were separated at birth and had no contact with each other. A huge study in Germany found that separated twins ranked almost exactly the same on the happiness scale, regardless of their personal experiences. Right? That would support this idea that genetics plays a significant role in our happiness. So B here is going to be the best answer, right? This idea that regardless of the choices they make or the choices their parents make, if they grow up in different homes, that these twins with different circumstances have similar levels of happiness, right? That supports this idea that it's genetic. So B is going to be the best answer for number 3. 2 writing questions here. You could have had a lot of different directions you've gone with this answer and still could have gotten credit. Let's kind of go over some of the examples here on the answer key. So the phrase, what does the phrase level of happiness reveal about how researchers consider happiness to work in paragraph 15? Let's go back and look at that real quick. The researchers tested 481 students over 2 semesters to measure their level of happiness and determine if savoring a good thing could last even a few weeks. In most cases, it didn't. The participants quickly returned to their regular levels of happiness. So the question is, what does this reveal about the phrase level of happiness and how they consider happiness to work? The big thing here is that different people experience different degrees of happiness and their happiness can somewhat vary over time. This study they're talking about gave them some short-term happiness, but it didn't really last a long time. So it didn't like carry over for an extended period of time. Number 5, how does the author's claim regarding happiness compare to previous understandings of happiness? For this, you're going to have to really look throughout the article at where the author is defining happiness according to other people, and then how their research adds or contributes to that definition, or maybe goes counter to that definition. So the examples that offers here in the answer key, the author references previous understandings of happiness in which we are born with a tendency to be happy or sour, and it doesn't have much to do with our surroundings or lifestyle. This would be the idea that some people have, that happiness is mostly genetic. Maybe if you have a bad temper, or you are cranky, or you're never really that smiley or giggly, right? That these would be things that are all genetic. You're just born that way and there's not much you can do about it. So a lot of people might believe this. However, that contrasts with what the author is talking about. So the author shows studies that suggest that people have some control over their happiness. Rather, a set point of happiness is viewed as a range. So rather than being born with just a set level of happiness or a set level of unhappiness, you're kind of born with a range, and then your own choices can shift where you are within that range. That's what the author is essentially arguing. All right, I hope that gives you guys some help if you were stuck on any of those questions for our first article this week. The next article you guys are going to read today is Scientists Reveal 3 Keys to Happiness. So if you go to this article, again, same structure here. You're going to annotate, answer the guiding and assessment questions, and then when you're done, you can go on to Canvas and post your response to our discussion question for today. All right. Let's transition here to looking at our paired text task for tomorrow and our writing task for Thursday and Friday. So for the paired text task today, you can see you've got a bunch of links in here. There's an arguments and claims wrap. There's a little bit of review. It's got our articles we've been reading. There's an Edpuzzle on evaluating an argument. There's kind of an extra article in here. And then what you're really going to spend most of your time working on Wednesday is comparing and contrasting the two articles, and you're going to dig deeper into one article of your choosing. So you're going to pull up this link right here, and it's going to bring you to the slideshow. It has some directions on how to edit the slides. So you're gonna have to do a file and make a copy if you didn't already, so that you can edit these slides. You can see for each article, you're going to fill in the organizer here that helps you evaluate the arguments with their main idea and their evidence. So you have 2 of these, one for each article. So you'll do one of those for each article. And the last thing here, you'll pick one article that you really want to trace the development of their argument throughout the article. Remember, in a video yesterday, we talked about this objective here, this standard, that we're not just identifying the main idea and finding supporting evidence, but we're really looking at how the author is starting the argument and building it up and developing it throughout the text. So that is what this last graphic organizer here is for Wednesday. Okay. For Thursday and Friday, the writing task, you've got some choices, right? Our theme is choices and happiness, so you've got some choices here. Hopefully that makes you happy. This is kind of our last writing task for our happiness unit. We're going to start a little mini unit on love next week. So this is kind of the last hurrah for our happiness unit. You've got 3 options here. So you can write an argumentative text that might be kind of like a blog or an opinion article. But the big question is, what is most essential for a person to achieve happiness? So if there's one thing that a person really needs to achieve happiness, what's that one thing? And you got to argue for it, come up with reasons and evidence, do some research, find some quotes or statistics to back you up. Okay. I've got an example here that I had some fun with last week, if you want to look at an example of that. Okay. The other options, creative writing. So for this one, you're going to make a recipe for happiness. Okay, so you're going to write it like it is a recipe in a cookbook. It should have a description, it should have some ingredients, and it should have some directions on how to use those ingredients to make happiness. Of course, you're being figurative, not literal here. Miss Chibi made one for chaos instead of happiness. If you want to look at that example as a way to kind of guide your thinking as you work through that option if you choose it. Last one here is some expository writing. So you're going to explain a little bit here. So you're not arguing, you're not telling a story, you're explaining how something literally works. So for this one, you're going to choose a fictional character from a film or a novel. Try to avoid choosing one from a book or sorry, not from a book, from a TV show or a comic book that kind of is recurring and ongoing, because that'll be a little bit harder. So try to think of one from just a film or a novel where there's a set story with a beginning and end, and the character kind of changes a little bit. And Miss Jones made an example here if you want to look at an example for the expository option. So again, for Thursday and Friday, you get to pick one of these options and do your final writing activity for our happiness unit. If you've got any questions as you're working on the activities for Wednesday or Thursday, please let me or your teacher know. Message us on Remind, on Canvas, or email. All right. Have a great week.